Hi, Maggie. So, first of all, thank you for joining me on this interview. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about your journey because it's quite interesting. You going from a full-time job, being like a pediatric occupational therapist, and opening your own business and creating a product itself. And I found it very interesting, your story, that I wanted to take this moment to hear more about it. So maybe you can introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Roxana. It's so good to see you and to be here. Yes, I am a pediatric occupational therapist by background. That's what I went to school for. And I was working with kids in different settings from in their homes or their school, or most recently, the clinic. And I help kids get back on track if they're a little bit delayed in their developmental milestones, like maybe they're not feeding themselves yet and they should be, or they're not yet dressing themselves. And we want to make sure they have the motor skills to be able to do that. Um, and so I worked with a lot of kids, and I actually worked with a lot of kids with autism. Um, and I noticed that um, those kids would have more instances of being overwhelmed by their environment because they're experiencing sensation in different ways. So I really wanted to make a tool to help them to be able to calm themselves with their breathing, because I
Hmm.
knew from my own background that is such a simple way that we can all calm ourselves, but it's hard for kids to understand that. So I had this idea to make a tool, and that's what I've been working on for the last couple of years.
Interesting. Because most of us have ideas, and going from an idea to the actually like implementing the idea of creating a product out of it, it's such like it's one step, but it's one step that most people don't take. Like for you, what was that turning point that you decided to say like, "Hey, I want to do this," and how has your life changed? Now you are like a founder and are creating this product itself?
Great question. It's so interesting. I will be honest with you. There's just something about this project that it kind of seems like it's gonna happen. Like it needs to happen. And I had this idea, and there's things that are so close already. I would work with a lot of tools in the clinic, maybe more like party favors where you could blow and you could see the party favors stretch out, and it's so close to helping the kids, but they could also breathe like really fast into those same tools, and or like a pinwheel that goes around with the breath. And that's not helpful enough for them to understand how actually a slow breath really helps us. So I knew that there was things that were close, but there needed to be something a little bit, just a little bit more precise.
Mm.
And I guess once I started talking about it, actually speaking it out loud to my colleague in the next office and saying, I wish I had a tool that could do this. I feel like things started happening. I started maybe noticing more ways that I could make this into a real project. And the first thing was getting connected to a university, and they were able to help me really crystallize my idea of
Mm.
the must-haves and the wants of my project. So that was my first prototype, was working with them. And then I've worked with a lot of different incubators and classes and things since then. And I'm so lucky to have those because my background is mostly just, working with kids.
And how's that how important was the community itself when developing this new idea and just transitioning yourself to being like a founder and creating a product itself?
Great question. It was absolutely important. I I I think there's like two answers. There's of why it's important. I think one is that when you have an idea, at the beginning, I feel like a lot of times you just want to keep it to yourself and you just want to make sure no one, steals it, or maybe you're scared about what they might say about it. But it's really important, just like a plant needs oxygen and sunshine to grow. It can't really grow if it's like locked away in a closet. Um, your idea also benefits so much from being able to speak about it and get other ideas and for it to grow, of course. Um, so I think there's that. And then also, it was hugely beneficial to me because my background is that I'm an occupational therapist. I have a lot of experience with kids, but I don't have any experience with engineering or um, any of the business side. So I'm so thankful that I was able to connect up with um, those different talents, and I've been learning a lot.
And aside from having a community, I'm sure there has been like a lot of changes, particularly like in the way you operate your day to day. Like, can you walk us through like what has changed, what stayed the same? Like, what have you learned through this period?
Absolutely has. I went from being in a clinic, seeing about 6 to 8 patients a day that are all scheduled for me and coming at certain times, to having my calendar be wide open and I get to do the scheduling. Um, and so that's been absolutely a challenge, but um, learning how to really prioritize and maybe do some blocking out of, these are going to be the times when I have Zoom calls or take classes, and these are going to be the times when I need to get into my focused work.
Mm,
And yeah, I really think that's been a big change. And then one of the things that is really interesting is that when thinking about my work, I was always, had the patients, they have their goals, and we're always working towards their goals.
mm,
And I'm trying to get them to, of course, learn the skills to meet them. And then I end up, working on my own. And now with entrepreneurship, you always have your North Star and you want to keep that goal in mind. And that's where all kind of your priorities come from. And yet, so I still had the ability to set goals and things. That was great, but it's really making sure I can motivate myself to do those things to make sure I'm hitting the North Star. Um, and which is actually, my goal to still help people. So
mm,
that's been really interesting. And I really have to make sure that I'm taking care of myself so that I can bring the best to my project. And I think that's, yeah, kind of, I just like I was making sure my patients had the right tools, I have to make sure I have all the right circumstances and conditions to do my work well.
And can you tell us like a couple of workflows or things that you have implemented that keeps you in your project? Because I assume like previously you had like your whole system already, patients came in, so you didn't have to like organize anything like that. Like, do you use something to prioritize the things that you need to do, or yeah, how do you work itself?
That's really great, and I'm still open to learning about how to make it better, but I've been recently using the Eisenhower matrix, which I had learned about a long time ago, but just kind of 4 quadrants, ranking things. One axis is importance and one axis is urgency. So I do feel like that helps me focus on, as an entrepreneur, you have all these different spinning plates. You have like, branding and legal and, manufacturing maybe. So how do I make sure I'm looking at all those different lists of tasks, which I do list out tasks and in those categories, but then how do I put it in that matrix to know which one I have to focus on today, which one can be
Mm,
scheduled for tomorrow, and which one I might need a lot of help with. And I have had a lot of help, um, you know, with talking to advisors, helping me know what to prioritize, or being in an incubator or accelerator. That's been
mm.
great too.
Great, great. So thank you for your time and telling us about your product and how you transition from being like an employee to a founder right now. Just for people like that want to also take that first step, my final question would be like, what would you advise people to do that they have an idea and they want to actually create something with it?
Yes. Gosh, I think that's such a great question. And the first thing that comes to mind is being able to share it and actually speak it out loud to someone, because that gets it out of like just your internal mind and really helps solidify it into the real world. And then looking for resources in your community. Like I was able to do some 3D printing at the library for free, and um, yeah, taking community college classes that weren't that much um, money wise, but a wealth of knowledge to let me know like what I would need for um, the business. Also, yeah, we have the Small Business Development Center here in San Diego. We have one, so that was really helpful just to get that outside guidance. And uh, I think that would be, those are plenty of things to start with.
So thank you again, Maggie, for taking the time to talk to me.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a wild ride. This is like the most recent prototype that I have, and the kids can either wear it as a necklace or clip it onto the backpack. And when they breathe into it, they get rewarded with well, their slow lights are activated, colorful lights when they're breathing slowly and evenly. So it is. Um, it's super fun. I would show you now, but it's just going to come up as like really bright lights. But you could see more on my website, which is www.happylittledragon.com.